Addressing the psychological effects. To mitigate these psychological effects, a comprehensive approach that includes mental health support, community engagement, and educational initiatives is necessary. Providing accessible mental health services, trauma counseling, and support groups for affected individuals and communities can aid in healing and recovery. Initiatives aimed at promoting community cohesion, resilience, and nonviolent conflict resolution can help rebuild the social fabric and reduce the allure of cultism. Educational programs that address the risks and consequences of cult involvement, alongside efforts to provide alternative pathways for youth engagement and empowerment, are critical in preventing the cycle of violence and psychological harm. By focusing on the psychological well-being of both cult members and the broader community, it is possible to foster a more peaceful and resilient society. Deep-rooted causes of rivalry and conflict. The deep-rooted causes of rivalry and conflict among secret cults in Nigeria are complex and multifaceted, intertwining socio-economic, cultural, and historical factors. These underlying causes fuel the persistent violence and antagonism between rival groups such as the Black Axe, Air Lord, Maphite, and others. Understanding these causes is crucial for addressing the issues at their core and devising effective strategies for mitigating conflict and fostering peaceful coexistence. Socio-economic factors. Poverty and unemployment. High levels of poverty and unemployment, especially among youth, create fertile ground for cult recruitment. Young people, often desperate for a sense of belonging and a means of economic survival, are drawn into cults that promise wealth, power, and protection. Once involved, the economic incentives tied to cult activities, such as extortion and control over lucrative territories, exacerbate rivalries and conflicts. Lack of educational opportunities. The deterioration of educational systems and lack of access to quality education contribute to the proliferation of cultism. Educational institutions, particularly universities and colleges, become breeding grounds for cult activities, partly due to the absence of robust extracurricular and developmental opportunities for students. Cultural and social factors. Quest for identity and belonging. Many young Nigerians, facing identity crisis and social alienation, join cults to fulfill their need for belonging and identity. The strong sense of brotherhood and loyalty within cults is appealing, but it also fuels an us versus them mentality that intensifies rivalries. Erosion of traditional values. The erosion of traditional values and the weakening of community and familial structures have left a void that cults often fill. This breakdown of social norms and the lack of strong role models contribute to the appeal of cults, which often portray themselves as alternative sources of authority and protection. Political and institutional factors. Corruption and political patronage. The involvement of some cult groups in political thuggery and the patronage system exacerbates cult rivalries. Politicians and influential figures sometimes arm and finance cults to advance their political agendas, leading to conflict over control and influence. Weak law enforcement and judicial systems. Ineffective law enforcement and a lack of judicial accountability for cult-related activities embolden cult groups. The perceived impunity with which cults operate fosters an environment where rivalries can flourish unchecked. Historical and ideological factors. Legacy of militancy and resistance. Some cults trace their origins to movements of political resistance or social activism, adopting a warped ideology of militancy and opposition. Over time, the ideological focus shifts from social change to territorial control and power struggles, perpetuating conflict with rival groups. Internal power struggles. Leadership disputes and internal power struggles within cults often spill over into conflicts with rival groups. These struggles for dominance and control within and between cults fuel ongoing cycles of retaliation and violence. Conclusion. The deep-rooted causes of rivalry and conflict among secret cults in Nigeria are intertwined with the broader socio-economic, cultural, political, and historical context of the country. Addressing these conflicts requires a holistic approach that goes beyond law enforcement to include economic empowerment, educational reforms, cultural revitalization, and political accountability. By tackling the root causes of cultism, it is possible to undermine the foundations of rivalry and conflict, paving the way for peaceful coexistence and social cohesion. Territorial disputes. Territorial disputes represent a significant and enduring cause of conflict among secret cults in Nigeria, such as the Black Axe, Air Lord, Maphite, and others. These disputes often stem from the desire to control geographic areas for various purposes, including economic gains, recruitment activities, and the assertion of dominance and influence. Understanding the dynamics of these territorial disputes is crucial for devising strategies to mitigate conflict and foster peaceful coexistence among rival groups. Economic control and extortion. One of the primary motivations behind territorial disputes among cults is the control of economic resources within a specific area. This includes the ability to levy illegal taxes on businesses, control market spaces, and engage in other forms of extortion. Control over lucrative territories can significantly boost a cult's financial strength, allowing it to arm its members better, recruit more effectively, and expand its operations. Consequently, rival cults often clash over territories that are considered economically valuable. Recruitment grounds. Territories are also important for cults as recruitment grounds. Control over certain areas, especially within educational institutions and local communities, allows cults to influence and recruit young people more effectively. The presence of a particular cult in an area can deter rival groups from accessing potential recruits, leading to conflict over these strategic locations. Symbolic importance. Beyond economic and recruitment considerations, some territories hold symbolic importance to cult groups. Control over certain areas can enhance a cult's reputation and perceived strength, both internally among its members and externally in the broader community. Territories that have been historically associated with a cult or that serve as sites for initiation rituals and other significant events are particularly contentious. Safe havens and operational bases. Territories serve as safe havens and operational bases for cult activities. Control over specific areas allows cults to plan and execute operations with a degree of security from law enforcement and rival groups. These areas can also serve as hideouts for members, especially those wanted by the police or targeted by rival cults. Disputes arise when these strategic territories are contested, leading to violent confrontations.